Hello, world. My next guest is a seasoned global communications leader and an award-winning corporate storyteller. She's also host of the Armis Bad Actors podcast. With over 25 years of experience, she has shaped high-impact communication strategies for some of the world's leading cybersecurity and technology brands. Her career spans New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ listed companies and VC backed scale ups and more. And she's passionate about elevating executive voices, scaling reputations, and mentoring the next generation of women in STEM. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Cradick, Vice President Corporate Communications at Armis, to the show. Rebecca, are you ready to get radically transparent with me?
I am. It's so good to join you. Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure and I'm really excited. We've got a great episode in store. Before we do jump into all of the questions I have around what's keeping you up at night,
Yeah.
could you share a little bit just what is Armis and what value does Armis bring to your customers?
Yeah, of course. So, for those that don't know, Armis is a global cybersecurity leader. We're very focused on securing all devices across an enterprise organization. So that's mobile phones, laptops, right through to big manufacturing plants, security systems in buildings, air conditioning units, IoT cameras, whatever they might be, because that's the new attack surface. That's how the bad actors and state nation attacks are taking down infrastructure globally. So we're the best at it. We're very focused on securing enterprises and making sure that they don't fall victim to attacks wherever they come from. And we're very good at doing that.
Thank goodness, right? Because in today's world, it's not about if, it's about when. So,
It
uh,
absolutely is.
right?
It's
So I
about always as well.
always.
It's always happening every single minute of every single day. Cybersecurity is non-stop. So yeah, it's very important that proactive security and defense is something that every organization thinks about.
Absolutely. So besides being on the offensive, if you will, and being
Yes.
proactive about security, which I know keeps all of us up at night, what
Mhm.
is keeping you up at night professionally in your role as a marketing leader at Armis?
Yeah, it's definitely changed over the last couple of years. We all talk about what happened in COVID and during COVID, and the world of work has fundamentally changed. Whether you're hybrid working or you're in the office or you're being demanded to go back into the office, things have changed since COVID. And I think that has made a lot of leaders concerned about the well-being of their staff and their teams, but also how you cope in the world of work. The blurring of the lines, there is no 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7 job anymore. It is early mornings, late evenings, trying to balance family commitments, personal lives, it's weekends, it's an always on news agenda. And that is really causing a lot of trouble for businesses that are trying to adjust their workforce to the new way of working and trying to get that balance. It's not easy. And I think we are still in that learning curve of how to do that. Some industries have gone fully back into the office. Financial services, particularly, is getting a lot of headlines at the moment, especially in the UK. But outside of that, there is definitely this noise about always working and trying to balance that for the staff is pretty critical at the moment.
Absolutely. And for good reason, right?
Mm,
Now, I know when we caught up a few weeks back, you spoke quite passionately about the power of saying thank you in business. And I want to
yeah.
address this head on. I want to get transparent, radically transparent about this. But why do you think expressing gratitude, and as marketers, we know this, right? But why do you think it's so overlooked, especially in, I would say, marketing environments that are super fast
Mhm.
paced?
It is so overlooked, and I am getting angrier by the day about this. It's hard to pinpoint when it started. I know that during COVID, I worked for various organisations that were very in touch with, making sure that the staff were okay, looked after. But I think sometimes you forget that people do want to go out of their way. They are passionate about what they do. There's a lot of amazing talent in the industry, and marketers in general, I find, are genuinely overlooked by a lot of organizations because it's always there in the background, in busy economic downturns or even when things are moving at pace. sales is the focus. You've got to deliver the number, you've got to close the quarter. But actually, a lot of marketers are overlooked because they're the engine that makes everyone successful, whether it's brand, communications, as in my team's case. We're always there in the background, keeping the lights on, making sure people know who we are, delivering the story, delivering the message. But it becomes this noise and expectation. And actually, a lot of people, I feel, overlook the marketing department because they are supposed to be the little engine that could, but the sales is ultimately the golden team. And I think over the last 2 years, I'd say particularly, there has been less and less recognition, I think, across the industry of the marketing function within organizations. Not all organizations, but definitely some, where the expectation is growth, revenue, delivery. And actually, it's like you just need to acknowledge that the work of a marketing department started years before the success of sales. It's building the brand, it's getting the message out there, it's speaking to the analysts, it's running social media programs, it's running podcasts to discuss these big issues. And I think that is being overlooked at the moment. And that's a real pity because it will mean people leave the industry, they look to other roles or careers, when actually now more than at any other time, the power of the message and explaining what you do and how you help organizations or customers fulfill what their needs are is more important than ever. But it's where the disconnect is starting to appear, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think what's interesting, especially in B2B today, is right, what is or should the role of simple human appreciation play in building high performing teams? And we know it contributes to positive company culture, but
Mm.
what role do you think it needs to play, or where can it be improved?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think it definitely needs to come from the top. And I think there are a number of organizations I see that have very clear leadership around this. And it does, we talk a lot about, performance increases and bonuses and, swag and like fun parties and experiences. And look, it's all part of making people feel part of the team. That cross collaboration across different industries or different departments within your organization is really important. It's how the world works. Networking has never been more important. And the human interactions, I think, have been missing for so long that people are really driving towards it. But at the same time, you have to recognize the extra effort that really brilliant teams are putting in. This is not, as I said before, a 9 to 5 job. People sacrifice a lot. I mean, I travel a lot at the weekends just to get to wherever I need to get to for a Monday, which has a huge impact on my family. I've got young kids and I know a lot of my colleagues and people within the industry sort of give a lot more of themselves than obviously that sort of structured contract that you get from HR. So making sure that you recognize that and actually dig deep into those cross collaboration moments, the importance of being in person is really important for how we develop business globally and also the success of an organization. It is now, I think, even more vital that people make those connections. People buy from other people. They don't buy specifically technology unless you have a team that they like working with, that they engage with, they get good vibes from. And so if you're in the business of working with people, those people need to be motivated, empowered, and really fun and good to work with and trusted as individuals. And that requires a lot of effort from organizations to build that credibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned early something that really stood out in my mind. You had said, right, marketing really is everywhere, right? We're in the sales funnel, we are in the customer success experience, making sure, the middle funnel, bottom funnel, top of funnel content is all supplied where it needs to go. We're in the brand, we're in, the messaging, we're everywhere. We're in HR, employer branding. So it feels like the role in marketing has blurred a bit. And like at the moment, it's grayer than ever, as you said, right? Like we're not getting the recognition, but we're kind of expected to be everywhere. Can
Yeah.
you talk about the evolution that you're seeing in kind of this new marketing leader or new role of marketing and perhaps
Mm.
share a few experiences where you're seeing like leaders are expected to be juggling multiple responsibilities
Yeah.
across multiple functions?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely changed. And it evolves actually, I would say, every single month. So I say stepping into the grey, and we talked about this previously. There is so much blurring of the lines of what our responsibilities are. Totally gone are the days where you have very, very distinct swim lanes. This is the responsibility of one individual. You go to that person and they deliver. The functions of marketing in the environments that we have now mean that people have to be multitasked.
Yeah.
They have to have a huge different amount of skill sets. I mean, I remember when I first started my career, I worked for a PR agency and it was all about media relations. That's all we did. Learn to build the relationships with the journalists, sell the story, get the press coverage. And over the 20, 25 plus years I've been doing this, you have to start thinking about the role that you have. So whether you're a marketer or a communicator or social media expert, what does that actually mean? It means you need to be able to tell a story. You need to communicate what that message is to multiple different audiences, because that message will be seen so many different places, whether you're on Instagram, God forbid, TikTok, and you see a video. It depends where your channels are, but a customer can dip into your brand and your who your business is at any given point in their day. And so you've got to really start thinking about the model in a very different way, whether it's an in-person event, a social media post, your personal brand, you're writing a press release, you're engaging with a journalist, you're speaking to an analyst, you're doing top of funnel activity and event creation, you're doing demand gen campaigns through a webinar or whether an email. There's so many different functions. And I think every marketer now that's coming into the industry needs to be moving into the grey of there is no set role that you have now. You have to roll up your sleeves, be really super passionate and excited about what you want to do, and be really open to experiencing new things, learn on the job, work it out in your private time, try and like redo a post or redo an article, whatever it might be. But you just have to be very different than you were 25 years ago. And that's definitely the role of a marketer now, is working with different groups and being super flexible.
I think that is really great advice for anyone trying to thrive in this new marketing dynamic.
Yeah,
Um, and especially, I mean, I have to ask, I mean, when you describe all of this, I think one of the elements that we need to also address is burnout because,
yeah,
right, how do you, I agree with you, by the way, like marketing, we need to be understanding, flexible, dynamic,
yeah.
hands in everything, experts in a lot of different areas. How how do you personally keep up or how do you avoid burnout? Just again, we're not in a 9 to 5. I mean, this is marketing today.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be super flippant and just say, thank God I have a dog, because apart from my family, my dog keeps me sane. I'm not joking. Going out and having some fresh air and walking with her just takes the pressure down a little bit. But I mean, that's not for everyone, and obviously not everyone can do that. But it is, look, it's really challenging. I travel a lot with my job, so I'm constantly on flights, and jet lag is real. Some days I do it better than others. I think it's about the key thing for me, and I found with my team, is about prioritization. And I know everyone throws these terms around, oh, prioritize, prioritize. It's really, really important to really understand what your objective is. And we've had instances just actually in the last couple of weeks where we've had so many deadlines coming in from the business or from the external world. And you're just like, how can we do all this? There's not enough hours in the day. It's just really struggling to have some sort of balance between your personal family life or whatever what you do outside of work and your hobbies. And I mean, there's no time for doing some of those things sometimes. But I think if it's consistently always like that, that's when burnout becomes real. If you have no sort of end date where you can take a bit of a breather and you can realize that this moment was for a month or it was for a week or it was this specific event, then mentally it becomes incredibly taxing. And I think for the new generation that have obviously experienced slightly turbulent ups and downs, whether it's the economy, whether it's job opportunities, whether it's indeed COVID at university for some of them, it is a real challenge in how you manage your working day and how you balance those priorities. And so I'd say to anyone that's coming in, or maybe they've been here for a few years, really work on building those relationships with your line manager. I'm really passionate about my team. I'm there to support their career growth, but I see aspects of them like working very late hours. I get emails sometimes from them at 11 o'clock at night. It's like, this isn't acceptable. What is happening? What is causing the problem? Let's reset your work. Does this thing need to be done now? Can we push this out a little bit? Can I get you some support? Can I take it on? It's about those conversations. I'm a big communicator. You've got a podcast, I've got a podcast. Connect with people on a real human level and try and make sure we all want to work hard. We all have high levels of expectation, but not to the detriment of your mental health or your physical well-being. And so prioritize what is important to the end audience and the objective of the business. And don't get caught up in like all this other noise. There's loads and loads of stuff that you should or could be doing, but are they really going to deliver? We don't know. And that's the thing you've got to focus on.
Well said. So that is lesson number one. I think that that's very well spoken, and I think this is advice for all of our ears to hear. My next question was actually, you kind of answered it, but if you have another one, feel free, right? But what's one leadership lesson that you've actually learned in this era or from this era of marketing from when you first started?
Yeah.
That especially with like the whole, do more with less that we're hearing all the time now,
Yes.
that you wish you had learned early on in your career.
Yeah, do you know what? This one actually keeps me awake at night because look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I always say to people, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You don't have the information at the time you make a decision. So don't try not to beat yourself up about it because you make decisions based on the information you have at any given time. And I look back over the last 20 odd years, there's so many things I would do differently. I mean, honestly, we'd be here all day. But the thing is to learn the lessons. So I spent, candidly, I spent a lot of time, trying to think beyond the needs of my leaders. And it's a very important skill set, actually, especially in communications. You've got to see, where the puck is going for a hockey analogy. I mean, I love the ice hockey, so I'll use that as an analogy. You've got to see where it's traveling to. You've got to sort of try and work out where the future's going, be ahead of the curve. But the problem is you can't actually predict everything. You really genuinely need to be flexible. You need to sort of roll with the punches and see what happens. And I have spent a lot of time preempting what other people would do. And yes, that's important. And there's definitely some aspect of that you need to do in the role I have. But also you spend a lot of energy and time wasting, on things that never ever materialize. And so there has to be a balance between making sure that prepare for potential outcomes, but not over rotate so much that it becomes a burden to you and you're sort of spending a lot of energy and cycles on things that obviously never materialize. So that is really, really important. I think the other thing is, and this is, probably for not for my boss's ears because he's amazing, but I think sometimes, especially as you get on with your career, you have experience in, marketing or social media or communications in my role. Everyone always has an opinion, oh, you should be doing this on social, you should be doing this on your podcast, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And you're like, that's very interesting, thank you for that feedback. Have you been doing this for 25 years? No. Okay, then maybe I will listen to your advice, but maybe stick to what you're doing. I haven't been doing sales for 25 years. I don't know how to do that. You do that, and I'll do my stuff. And sometimes you can get really bogged down in the negativity of, well, this isn't good enough, or we don't have enough followers. And actually, at the end of the day, we know what we're doing. We're skilled in this. So maybe just allow us to do it, I've learned over the years to smile sweetly, say thank you, and then move on because not everybody knows what they're talking about, and I think sometimes it's worth reflecting that you probably know more than they do.
I think that is some wise, wise, wise words. So let's bring it back full circle, shall we? If there is one thing you'd want every listener to take away about the importance of expressing gratitude in marketing in their career, what would it be?
I think, look, the power of saying thank you and really acknowledging the people that do the work is something that's actually completely missing at the moment. So for anyone that looks at my LinkedIn, you will see every Christmas I do a 5 post week. And it's about actually name tagging the people that have helped you achieve that year. And they're not often the people that get the big recognition or the big promotion. They're the people that grind day in, day out and support the leaders of a business. And in my case, my team have been there at the literally the cutting edge of day in, day out. They see me at my best, they see me at my worst. It's really important to give them the recognition. Often leaders within a business get the big glory posts, or, on the all hands calls. Thank you so much to the communications department and Rebecca for all the work that she's done. It's like, yeah, I didn't do this. It was all 8 of my team, and these are the people that actually do the work day in, day out. Yes, I lead them, and yes, I give them the guidance, but the actual delivery of a lot of the work is the people. And of course, they want bonuses and pay rises and promotional opportunities, but actually, day in, day out, say thank you. Make sure that you're making not just a quick text message, a proper recognition of thank you so much for this specific work, named checked to a person, so that they get the recognition and the glory within the wider communication, the wider company, because that is not happening anywhere that I see it at the moment. And I think it would go a long way in trying to rebalance some of the extra efforts that people are putting in at the moment. And gratitude for me is free. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes passion and empathy to others. That's it. It's not hard. You can fit that in your day. You can fit that in your week. You can fit that in your month. So, for marketing people out there, bear with because I think it's coming, and I hope that other leaders will take notice of the fact that this is one easy, simple way of making people recognize what's being achieved.
Well, Armis sounds like an incredible place to work. So if your team is
Yeah, it's good
hiring, feel
fun.
free to let any of us listeners know. So with that being said, final question. Can you share with us something about yourself that we actually can't learn about you from simply looking at your LinkedIn profile?
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty radically honest actually on my LinkedIn profile. I post a lot of different things, personal and private and professional. I think the big thing for me, I travel a lot for work, but much, much earlier on, before I sort of got into the positions that I've been doing now, I used to live in Africa.
Ah,
I used to live in Zimbabwe, and I was there a very long time ago in the 90s. And I'm really, really interested in the sort of dynamic of how the world has changed. And if I look back at my time there, and obviously I live in the UK now, but how sort of the world has become a lot smaller. Like I'm not talking about travel and you know the ability to get places. I'm literally talking about people being interested in each other's lives. We're in a very, very different climate at the moment with what's going on with the US and Europe. And I think actually there is so much more awareness of what is going on in other countries, thanks to the news, thanks to media. It's interesting that you can pay attention much more to other parts of the world, and what matters. And I think that's actually a really good part of how the internet and communications has evolved our lives. And we get the opportunity to go and experience different culture, experience different ways of life, and just be open to it. And I think, I'm very lucky. I get to travel a lot, mostly to America, a lot to Europe. But I do love the fact that me and my family do like traveling to unusual places, Asia, China, places like that, where we can experience a completely different culture and open our eyes to the world that we live in. And I love that. That's really cool for me.
oh, that's incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that. Rebecca, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, getting radically
So,
transparent. Anybody who wants to continue the conversation, learn more about Armis, have a conversation around the power of saying thank you, where's the best place to reach you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, obviously just, happy to connect with anyone that's interested in this. You can always find me that. And obviously I do a lot of traveling, as I said, but we're often at lots of different events. We've got RSA coming up in San Francisco in a few weeks, which is a big cyber event for our industry. So happy to see you there. And you can't miss Armis. We have one of the biggest booths there. So pop over and say hi.
Fantastic. So everybody go give Rebecca a follow on LinkedIn if you're not already following Rebecca. Give Armis a follow if you want to go ahead and see their booth at RSA in a few weeks, see the fantastic work they're doing. And Rebecca, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jen. Lovely to see you.